Welcome to the deep dive. I've been digging through the sources for this one, and honestly, it feels like we're looking at a sector of the crypto market that's been really quiet, almost, hiding in plain sight.
Hmm.
But the data seems to suggest it's like a coiled spring ready for some serious action.
Right.
We're talking about gaming tokens, those digital assets right at the heart of Web3 gaming.
Yeah, the in-game stuff.
Exactly. And what really caught my eye is how, while loads of other altcoins have jumped like 50 to 80% recently, with capital shifting from Bitcoin.
We've definitely seen that rotation.
Yeah, but the gaming tokens, they've been notably lagging behind. It's a bit of a puzzle, isn't it?
It is on the surface.
So, okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah.
Our mission today really is to pull out the key insights from our sources, try to understand why these gaming tokens might be uniquely positioned for what some are calling a pretty substantial rally.
Mm.
And this isn't happening in isolation, right? The wider crypto market is seeing serious institutional interest. You see headlines like Trump media's $2 billion Bitcoin move?
That definitely got attention.
And Bitcoin analysts talking about a potential run to $140,000 based on technical patterns. So big picture stuff happening.
A lot of bullish sentiment overall.
Okay, so with that context, let's dive into these 4 key factors that seem to be pointing towards a surge for gaming tokens.
Right. And what's fascinating here, and this really stands out in the analysis, is that the way gaming tokens are underperforming right now, it actually mirrors historical patterns.
Okay, how so?
Well, these patterns often show up right before a big sector rotation in crypto. Think of it like a market signal, an anomaly telling you a shift is coming.
Ah,
So you had altcoin spot trading volumes hitting, $44 billion daily during those recent rallies? Huge numbers.
yeah.
But gaming tokens, they were conspicuously absent from that party. That capital just wasn't flowing there.
Right, they missed out.
But that divergence, that gap, it doesn't necessarily mean weakness. It actually creates a really compelling setup.
A setup for what?
It's a classic scenario where investors, both institutional and retail, start looking past the coins that have already pumped hard.
Looking for the next thing.
Exactly. And they inevitably start rotating into these sort of undervalued gaming assets. And the really significant part, history shows when these sector rotations happen in crypto, the moves aren't small. They're typically explosive, and they often last for quite a while, multiple quarters even.
Like that coiled spring you mentioned.
Precisely. It's that coiled spring effect. The pressure builds up.
That's a powerful idea, the coiled spring. But playing devil's advocate for a second, what makes this rotation for gaming tokens potentially so, explosive and sustained? Why not just a quick pop and fizzle? Are there unique signs this time?
That's a fair question. And I think it ties back to just how undervalued they've become. Because they've lagged so much while everything else ran.
The gap is bigger.
The gap is much bigger. The potential upside is just disproportionately larger. The undervaluation is, you could argue, quite extreme right now. So that means it takes proportionally less new money flowing in to really move the price significantly once that rotation actually starts.
Okay, less capital for a bigger percentage gain.
Exactly. And once that momentum kicks in, it tends to build on itself, often for a sustained period.
Right, makes sense. So the market patterns look promising, but what good is a potential rally if people can't easily get these tokens or play the games they're for? Access is key, right?
Absolutely.
And this brings us to the next point, and honestly, this is where it gets really interesting for me, talking about market access. Our sources highlight this incredible case, Sarutobi.
Ah, yes, Sarutobi.
This was one of the first mobile games with Bitcoin integration, and Apple actually banned it, believe it or not, way back in 2015.
Yeah, their policies were much stricter then. Anything crypto was pretty much off limits.
Totally. Because of the Bitcoin stuff, the payouts. But what's just wild is that Sarutobi is back in the App Store. Successfully. After a decade.
It's huge news.
To me, that signals a fundamental shift, a real change in attitude from a major gatekeeper.
Oh, it absolutely is a fundamental shift. You really can't overstate it. When you think about Apple's history here, this is a genuine paradigm shift.
Right.
It unlocks enormous distribution channels for blockchain gaming. Suddenly, with Apple allowing apps like Sarutobi, these gaming tokens potentially get access to, what is it? iOS's 1.8 billion active devices globally.
Wow, 1.8 billion.
It's a staggering number. And this isn't just about Sarutobi. This regulatory, this policy shift, let's call it.
Yeah.
It's likely going to drive exponential user adoption. And that means more demand across the entire gaming token
It's
space.
because other developers will see this and jump in.
Exactly. The precedent is set. It encourages countless other developers who were maybe hesitant before to launch their Bitcoin or crypto-native games. You get this potential multiplier effect across the whole sector. Now, obviously, you always have to watch for policy changes or nuances down the line. But right now, this feels like a major green light for mainstream access that just wasn't there before.
Okay, that Apple development is definitely one to watch. Now, shifting gears a bit, let's talk liquidity. You'd normally think low liquidity is bad, right? A big red flag.
Usually, yeah, you want smooth trading.
But our sources point to something kind of counterintuitive, suggesting this low liquidity might actually help gaming tokens right now. How does that work?
It seems odd at first, doesn't it?
Hmm.
While yes, these tokens need liquidity for trading, for in-game economies, the current low liquidity environment actually sets the stage for much more amplified price movements when that capital influx we talked about eventually starts.
Amplify.
Exactly. Think of it like this.
Imagine.
Imagine a small, shallow pond versus a huge ocean.
Okay.
If you drop a stone in the shallow pond, it makes a much bigger splash, bigger ripples, right?
Right, compared to the ocean.
That's the basic idea. It's the mathematical reality here. Smaller market caps, lower liquidity. They require proportionally less capital inflow to generate those really substantial percentage gains compared to, say, Bitcoin or large established altcoins.
Gotcha. Less money makes a bigger impact.
Precisely. And with Bitcoin's dominance potentially easing off a bit as some institutional money looks for diversification, maybe higher returns elsewhere.
They look for alternatives.
Right. These gaming tokens, with their currently somewhat constrained supply and lower liquidity, they start to look quite attractive as an alternative investment. The potential upside, purely from a percentage gain perspective, is significantly higher.
That makes sense mathematically. But I have to ask, isn't there also a flip side? A risk with low liquidity? Like, sure, gains can be amplified, but couldn't losses be amplified too? Or couldn't it be easier for, a few big players to manipulate the price?
That's a completely valid concern, and yes, that risk definitely exists in less liquid markets. Something anyone looking at this space needs to be aware of. Thin order books mean higher volatility, both up and down.
So how do the sources frame that risk?
The insights tend to frame the current low liquidity more as a temporary condition before an expected inflow of capital, rather than a permanent fatal flaw. The thinking is, as institutional interest picks up, as more retail users come in via things like the App Store opening up, that liquidity will naturally deepen over time.
Okay.
So the focus in the analysis we reviewed is less on the current risk, though it's acknowledged, and more on the potential for those amplified gains when or if that capital rotation really kicks in.
Okay, that clarifies the liquidity angle. It's about potential energy almost.
You could put it that way, yeah.
All right, finally, let's get to something I'm actually pretty excited about. The underlying economics of these tokens. They're tokenomics. Because, let's be honest, back in the day,
Oh yeah, 2017, 2018.
a lot of tokens felt like they were just printed. With no real economic model behind them, it seems like things have matured significantly since the last big rally.
You're absolutely right. Thinking back to that era, tokenomics often meant, well, not much, frankly. Or worse, models designed just for a quick speculative pump. It was the Wild West.
Definitely felt like it.
What we're seeing now in many credible gaming projects is light years ahead. These are much more sophisticated economic models designed to actually influence value through real supply and demand mechanics within the game's ecosystem.
Like what specifically? What's changed?
Well, you're seeing things like sophisticated burn mechanisms baked in. So tokens are permanently removed from circulation through gameplay activities or transactions, which creates deflationary pressure over time.
Okay, reducing supply.
Exactly. Then you have attractive staking rewards, which incentivize people to lock up their tokens and hold them long-term, reducing the circulating supply available for sale.
Right, rewarding holders.
And crucially, real utility functions. The tokens aren't just speculative assets. They're genuinely used within the games for buying items, paying fees, maybe even governance, voting on the game's future.
So it's not just about hoping the price goes up, it's about needing the token to actually play or participate fully.
Precisely. And that's a key difference. Unlike many purely speculative altcoins that might have very limited real-world or even digital use cases,
Yeah.
gaming tokens benefit from this continuous utility driven by gameplay. People need them, they use them, they earn them, they spend them within the game loop. This creates organic buying pressure that's somewhat independent of just broad market sentiment.
Okay, so even if the wider market is down, if the game is popular, there's still demand for the token.
That's the idea. This structural improvement, this focus on real utility and sound economics, it positions these gaming tokens for potentially more sustained appreciation and genuine value creation,
Right.
rather than just those temporary pump and dump cycles that plagued the market in earlier years.
Hmm.
It really raises an important question, doesn't it, about the long-term sustainability this time around compared to past cycles. And based on these tokenomic improvements we're seeing, the answer potentially looks far more promising.
Okay, wow, we've covered a lot of ground there. So what does this all mean for you, the listener, trying to make sense of this ever-changing crypto landscape?
Mm-hmm.
Well, despite gaming tokens currently lagging behind the big altcoin run, our deep dive into the sources suggests they're supported by some really compelling factors.
Yeah, quite a confluence.
We're seeing clear historical patterns hinting at a sector rotation, like that coiled spring ready to release.
Right. The historical setup.
Then there are major platform shifts, like Apple opening the door, potentially unlocking massive new user bases.
Huge for access.
We've got those counterintuitive liquidity dynamics, where low liquidity right now could actually amplify gains later.
The splash in the small pond.
And maybe most importantly, fundamental improvements in the actual economics, the tokenomics, driving real utility and potentially more sustainable value.
The foundation seems stronger.
So we've just unpacked why gaming tokens might be uniquely positioned for a significant rally, but thinking bigger, it prompts a really fascinating thought, doesn't it?
Where do you think this is heading?
Well, consider this. How might this increasing mainstream acceptance of blockchain in gaming, combined with these more mature economic models for digital assets, how might that fundamentally reshape not just the future of entertainment, but maybe the very idea of digital ownership? And maybe even how we interact digitally day to day.
That's a big question.
Imagine a future where your digital items, your game achievements, maybe even your online identity components have real verifiable value and utility that you truly own and can move across different platforms. It feels like a profound shift, and maybe it's happening faster than a lot of us realize. Something to think about.